Hello, boys and girls. You're now watching Peter's Raw Recap. The road to SummerSlam has been a bumpy road, but it seems like over the past 2 weeks, things are starting to make sense. The feuds and the possible matches are starting to take form. And it can happen at a better time than tonight. A lot of things formulated tonight. A lot. A lot. Some big surprises. A lot of action. This felt like a go home show, but it's the go home show before the go home show. I don't. Next week is going to be a tough one to top this week, very much like last week. And I must say, the people in Seattle rocked tonight. So just like San Jose from last week, Seattle, you guys did a great job playing up to the show. You guys are really excited. You were able to stay the entire 3 hours, very attentive and very exciting. I mean, 9 times out of 10, I probably hear about how the crowd sucked, but man, Marks will fucking complain about anything. So, without further ado, let's go into this motherfucker. Yeah, Raw being in Seattle, and it starts off with Seth Rollins, and he comes out like he did last week, bragging about how he broke John Cena's nose. He brings up the fact that he actually offered up the title match, but he hasn't heard anything. He even there's a point where he talks about what is it, straight out of the hospital. I don't know, but it was like he brought up how John Cena was hanging with Dr. Dre or something. I don't know. Beats the living shit out of me why they would even bring that up if they're trying to plug the actual movie. I don't see why. But there's times where they use the Titron, the big screen, to do like really cheesy, really bad things incorporating maybe something funny. But they do like a fake Cena, like a Cena's face with a broken nose and a fake mouth, like from Conan O'Brien. And I must say, that was funny as shit. I mean, it's funny how something that simple can be really effective, and and even to the point where he was talking about, like hustle, loyalty, and respect. It's surgery, recovery, rehab. That's his new motto, and like never give up. Well, unless you take a nose to the face, go ahead and just give up. I have to admit that was probably the best usage of like a comedy angle with the Titron I've seen in quite some time, if not ever. I hope they go back to that more often to shoot on like wrestlers who are injured, who are maybe shooting a film or injury angle. But that was pretty good. Then he starts to shoot on the match last week with Neville and how he almost won. Well, how Neville almost won. And then Cesaro comes out in the suit, and it's the return of the Cesaro section. I'm like, did someone just do it? Sort of repeated what happened in San Jose, or did the dude from San Jose drive up to Seattle, Washington, and just handed out Cesaro section papers? I'll be what's the word? Surprised if they don't start locking down on that and not have that there anymore, because you know how the WWE gets. They don't like stuff like that in the crowd. And he talks about how he wants to take part in the open challenge. And Rollins has to be like, hey, dude, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't issue no challenge tonight. What the fuck? And then, even if I did, what did you do to deserve it? Then Owen steps out and he talks about uh, how he deserves it by beating Cena, and that he deserved it. And then Orton comes out, and he shoots on Owens' weight almost immediately, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm in a position to take that challenge as well." And then Rollins is like, "You idiots, you morons! I didn't issue the open challenge, so why the hell are y'all here? Get out the ring." And then he made a comment like, Tom Brady has a better chance of getting dinner in a Seattle restaurant than you guys ever getting the opportunity to win the belt from me, which was like a big heel pop because Seattle, it seems like Seattle was a very heel favored city. I mean, Seth Rollins got an ovation. He got ovation after ovation until he mentioned, you know, football, Tom Brady, reminding them that, you know, their team lost in the Super Bowl. And then Triple H comes out. And I think he mentions, before Triple H steps out, he mentions something like, I don't care, I don't care about the authority. And then Triple H came out basically challenging that comment that he didn't care about what the authority thinks. And then Triple H then and there sets a three-way match between Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, and Cesaro, a triple threat, to see who's the number one contender for that evening to face Seth Rollins for the WWE World Heavyweight Championships. And that first segment takes 20 fucking minutes. Christ. Next up, we have Team Bella versus Team Bad with PCB on commentary. Yes, folks, PCB. No longer the submission sorority. I think everyone caught on to that, and they just sort of drifted on to another name. And this PCB is basically Paige, Charlotte, and Becky. It's the initials of their first names, and it's a PCB. Again, I did a podcast earlier today with Nathan Newman, which I call the New Day podcast, because my last name is Day, his first name is Newman, so New Day. I love the New Day. Boom, we got a fucking podcast. They're on commentary. Well, anyway, but yeah, PCB, PCB, and maybe it's defunct now, but it was a line of black hair care products that they will always promote on like Soul Train or like Jet Magazine, Ebony. I'd imagine defunct by now, because I actually tried to go online to try to find it, and I saw like a link. I mean, I saw that some people had been searching it, but it's like Palm Beach something, whatever. But I guess that hairline is no longer exists. But that's what I think when I think PCB. This is a very Bella friendly crowd, and everybody wants to talk about how, yeah, because it's Seattle and that's where Daniel Bryan's from. Well, he's from Washington. They're selling Daniel Bryan as, they're selling the whole fact that they're in Seattle as a Daniel Bryan homecoming, but he's from Aberdeen, which he even addresses a little bit later. But they're very, very Brie friendly. And, you know, someone mentioned something, maybe something race, and I go, yeah, you know, I've been back and forth with a couple of people on, one person in particular, about how what's been happening with Naomi. So many names with Naomi, because that's their first feud. When they were going to give Naomi the rub, they last second like pulled out, because all of a sudden the heel Bellas going against a black girl, all of a sudden they became the baby faces, and if you keep up with Peter and Jake Talks Wrestling, that was something I talked about. It's like, dude, these girls are heels. How is Naomi, who is kind of like the baby face, she was red hot until she ran up with Hurricane Bella's, and then all of a sudden they had to turn her heel because even with Twin Magic and outside interference by either Nikki or Brie onto Naomi, people was cheering that shit, and I don't know why. I still don't know why. And the fact that the Team Bella is basically a heel faction versus the Divas Revolution come ups, and they get the babyface pop. It's still like just a mind blowing thing to me. Maybe because they're just stars now. Like people like them a lot, but it's still like a weird dynamic to me. But it's a decent enough match. You got the hot tag to Brie, and the place absolutely goes bonkers. And there's even a spot where she does the Daniel Bryan yes kicks, and I just still roll my fucking eyes. And it results into her pinning Tamina in a very, very lackluster pin, roll up. And then that turns into like a 9 diva brawl, which the Team Bella escapes. I may add also, 2 weeks ago, Alicia Fox suffered a concussion. She didn't compete last week, and then she competed this week. I wish it had been I wish they would have addressed it. You know, concussions, especially in NFL, with with Junior Seau being put in the Hall of Fame, you would think they would address it and say something about it, but they didn't, which is I'm pretty disappointed in. But I guess she passed protocol, but I guess it's a touchy subject still to a certain extent. But then the Bellas run out, and which leaves Team Bad and Team PCB in the ring facing off. And that entire segment ran for like 17 minutes. Again, too much too soon. A lot of people starting to turn on the Divas Revolution. And for good measure, because, again, it's too much too soon. I wish these girls would have came up one by one. It's all a ruse for Nikki Bella to hold on to the belt until she beats AJ Lee's record. Don't be fooled, folks. They're all pawns right now. I can go on more into it, but that's for Wednesday's Peter and Jake Talks Wrestling. We get the New Day versus Los Matadores. And it's, again, it's a very pro-heel crowd. And the New Day actually get the New Day Rocks chants. And you can tell that they're, like, surprised by it and pretty happy about it. Then you have the primetime players backstage looking at the match on the big on the television screen, and it seems like they're running with that whole gimmick of Darren Young and some dumbass glasses and a clipboard. I don't get it. It's stupid. But the New Day win. The New Day win. They beat them almost damn near convincingly. And after the break, Renee Young informs the New Day in the back that they do have a shot at the championship at SummerSlam, along with Lucha Dragons, and also along with Los Matadores. So they didn't have the balls to basically just choose a number one contender and just go with like just one tag team facing the primetime players. So they just went on and threw them all in a fatal 4-way tag team match. And that sets up, that's a definite match for SummerSlam. We still don't know what's going to happen with the Divas. And we still haven't gotten a response for John Cena. But we got definitely this match set up. They go backstage to Triple H with Rollins, and he's his counselor, his hype man. He's his Flavor Flav. He's like, dude, you set up the fuck, like, you're the man. You gotta be the man, and you could do this kind of shit. And he mentioned about the open challenge, like, yo, you open up that can of worms. So in order for you to open up that can of worms, you gotta go fishing. All right. So that's why he set that match. It's like, I didn't do this, you did. Which second hour begins with the triple threat between Cesaro, Orton, and Owens. And it's very much like a hot potato match. There's no one on one in this at all. Cesaro on Orton, Orton on Owens, Owens on Cesaro, Cesaro on, like it's very fast paced, and there's never really any dead time with just, well, not dead time. It's never really like a long, elongated time amount between just two of the three. It was just like boom, you just see Cesaro on Orton, and then there'd be something where Orton just jumps to Owens, and then something where Owens just jumps to Orton, and it's pretty action packed, man. Like, it's fucking great. It's a great fun match. Orton definitely displays his strength by lifting Cesaro and Owens easily throughout the match. We get a Cesaro crossface. Owens does this spot. He does the flip over the top rope to land. They go to break almost afterwards, but man, I felt like there was like a collective oh shit from the WWE universe. But it was pretty impressive just to see his big ass do that. You get a double suplex on Owens from Cesaro and Orton. You get the big swing on Orton into the sharpshooter. You get the double vintage Orton. Orton wins with the double RKO, reversing Cesaro, almost getting put in a pop-up powerbomb. He hits Owens with the RKO first, and then he hits Cesaro with it second, and then that gets him the pin. And this was 18 minutes. So, big blocks this week. Like, huge blocks. For certain segments. And then you get Ambrose in the back with Roman Reigns, and Ambrose is basically talking about how he's never had friends. Reigns shows up, and then they have a bro fest. Again, this is setting up for a turn. There's a little more facial hair on Ambrose, so keep that in mind. They do a Brock versus Taker package, which leads to what's happening now. After Raw, they're showing like this thing, basically the package to promote SummerSlam, and that's on the WWE Network. Then we have Ambrose with Reigns by his side versus Harper with Bray Wyatt by his side. A short match. It's nothing we haven't seen before. These guys have competed against each other for several matches. So there was nothing really different about this. But Harper gets the win with the spinning lariat after Roman Reigns' involvement and Bray Wyatt involvement. And then, like, just in the confusion, Harper hits that spinning lariat, and he gets the 1-2-3 pin. And I think right before they got out of that segment, you see Reigns trying to console Ambrose, and he kind of knocks his hand away. Again, it's building it up real nice. So I can't wait for the turn to finally see real pistivity, some real emotion from Roman Reigns. Next up, you have Miz TV with Daniel Bryan, and that Stephen Amell is in the crowd waiting for his spot. With Stardust and Neville, but he disses Amell, said, "I teach you, after you're done with your Stardust thing, come call me, I'll teach you how to act," kind of thing. Daniel Bryan comes out, long ovation, and then he does the babyface pop. He doesn't say Seattle. This is what I was mentioning earlier. They tried to promote it as Daniel Bryan's homecoming, but he's from Aberdeen. So he's like, you expect me not to be in my home state of Washington, which I thought was pretty funny. And then they go back and forth, just Miz healing it up. Hey, I made you a star, because Daniel Bryan was the Miz's trainee at the first NXT. And then you get the big plugs for Daniel Bryan's book and so on and so forth. Miz is healing it up on the fact that he hasn't been cleared to wrestle again and all that stuff. Again, Miz is the most effective heel on the roster. Big Show shows up. He talks his smack. Then we get the return of Ryback. And Ryback actually, go like it's a standoff, and him and Big Show go at it. But as the Miz and Daniel Bryan like sort of leave the ring, Bryan throws the Miz back into the ring, which results in the Big Show, I guess, throwing both the Miz and Ryback into the corner buckle. Then that results in Ryback taking out the Miz, I guess, for now, and then he hits Big Show with a meat hook, and then he hits a meat hook with Miz. He hits a meat hook on Miz, with Daniel Bryan cheering it on, and then after he hits Miz with the meat hook, Ryback leads the Yes chants, and then that's that segment. You get a Charlotte package they had from last week's SmackDown, just basically a short little vignette of who she is and her relationship with her dad and what she plans to be in the WWE. They, in this package, she mentions Ronda Rousey, and even at the beginning, they mentioned how at the beginning of the show they mentioned how Brock Lesnar was a UFC World Championship. So even though Dana White is being a real dick, they're still trying to rub them enough so they can get their hands on Ronda Rousey. Like, they're trying so hard to get hands on Ronda Rousey. We get Rusev versus Mark Henry, a USA flag-waving Mark Henry. And this is a rematch from last week where he just basically is squashed. You got Lana on commentary, and this is a very short match. All of it, which is kind of weird because it ends as a no contest, but it's Lana and Summer Rae that get into the scuffle. Like, it's weird. Because before the scuffle, Lana, because Summer Rae is she's on the ring apron, she runs up and snatches her down. And then, Summer Rae retains herself, and she throws Lana back into the ring. And then there's this stare down. Well, Lana's on her knees to Rusev, and I'm like, this is interesting. And then it looks like she's standing up to kiss Rusev. It looks like there's this moment of like compassion, but before anything moved any further, Summer Rae comes in, attacks Lana, lays the smack down, and then puts her in an accolade. The Summer Lade. The Raylade? Summer Raylade? I guess that's what it is. Whatever. And then the flag comes down with an image of Rusev on it, the Bulgarian flag with Rusev on it. I'm not sure what happened to to Mark Henry. He got kicked in the face. We never saw him again. So, cool rematch. Stardust package on the whole like Stephen Amell. We get Barrett versus Neville, which is a quick match. Red Hour for the win, and then Stardust strikes Neville, and then he heads over to Stephen Amell, mushes him in the face. Amell hops the barricade, hops into the ring, hits Stardust with the spear, and then starts like giving some good work hits on the ground. So the security takes Amell off of Stardust, and Stardust walks up the ramp with Barrett, which I was like, that's interesting. What that had to do with anything? They go to break. After break, you got Triple H pissed off at Amell. Amell and Neville convinces Triple H to do the match for SummerSlam. We got Stephen Amell, who is the Green Arrow, with Neville, Red Arrow versus Stardust and King Barrett, which I guess that is why the whole walking up the ramp with Stardust. But Triple H is trying to act it up. He's trying to outact Stephen Amell. You can see that he was like, "This is my chance with like a A-list, well, I don't know, a star, some list star." But that sets up. That's another definite match set up tonight. So that's 3 matches set up tonight. We get Sheamus in the back with JoJo, and he finally mentions that he may cash in. First time, finally, he mentions how he has the money in the bank and how there's a possibility he may cash in. What a concept. We get Orton versus Rollins, and again, Orton won the triple threat to face Rollins for the championship belt. And there's a spot in there where you get vintage Rollins. He's already hit the Rollins KO before, and he mocks Orton. But this match itself, and you could tell that either A, Seth Rollins didn't want to be there, or Randy Orton was just worked a little too much this week because there was 2 botches. Very unlike Orton to be involved with some botches. Like the first botch, I think, was a sort of a reverse of a hip toss. And then the second botch was on the ropes where he was trying to lift them up. And he falls through the ropes. So, sloppy match. But it results in an RKO, a sick RKO as Rollins jumps off the top buckle. And as he goes for the pin, you think he has the win. Here comes Sheamus. And Sheamus breaks the count. He pulls Orton off, which results in a DQ. He hits Orton with a brogue kick, and then he brogue kicks Rollins, and then it becomes a cash-in attempt. And he's handing the briefcase to the ref. And the ref is like, well, let it go. It's weird. But it was enough time for Orton to catch his bearings and to run in to stop the cash-in by delivering an RKO to Sheamus. And that's how Raw ends. Again, if you want the full discussion review of Raw from Seattle, be sure to tune in to Peter and Jake Talks Wrestling this Wednesday. Also check out today I did the podcast with Nathan Newman. Again, we go by the New Day Podcast. Today we basically are just going to do the week review of all the wrestling shows. We talk a lot about Lucha Underground in the finale. We talk about AAA. He watched Triple Mania. We talked about NXT. We talked about ROH. We talked about Raw. So if you got time, sure to go back one YouTube back, or you can stop by the SoundCloud page, or you can just stop by PJTWCentral.com. Follow me, PJTW Central. Hit that subscription button. Leave a comment, and do a whole bunch of things. Share, like, and send me a question or something. I'm not here for my entertainment. I'm here for yours. So show a little bit of love back. And yeah, that's Peter's Raw Recap. We'll see you again this Wednesday. For the Go Home Show, Go Home and Prediction Show, it's episode 51. Episode 51. So, I'm pretty excited. 2 weeks until SummerSlam, 2 weeks until the year-long anniversary of the Peter and Jake Talks Wrestling Podcast. So, everybody have a good night. Peace.